Hi everyone, and welcome to another Spodcast where we take a look at the week's TV, movie, entertainment, and sometimes gaming news. As always, I try to get a variation of guests on because no one really wants to listen to my opinion apart from myself because it's always right. So it's always good to get people's opinions that are sometimes wrong. So, first up, and already I'm getting evil looks, is one of my friends who I've worked with for a number of years in Comic-Cons and things like that. It's Alice. Hey Alice. How's it going?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. I was going to ask you how you were, but then you said that my opinion was wrong, so I don't care anymore.
That's great, and that's how we're going to start the podcast, with hating the guests. That's what you're meant to do. And our other guests, usually we'll have four, but one of them forgot was Super Bowl Sunday when we record this and opted to go see that instead. Fair enough. They have good trailers, which we'll get to later. But we're joined by another Comic-Con friend of mine who has decided to stay a bit in character, or look like a character, and that is my friend Funkster, or looking like Deadpool today. How are we doing, Funkster?
Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell for notifications. Thanks.
It's going to be one of those podcasts, isn't it? And how are you doing anyway, Ivan, starting a new YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, just getting on with stuff. I'm a walking cliche sitting here in my Deadpool mask. So, just getting on with stuff.
And this is what the podcast is going to be like, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be interesting. So let's get started and hit some of the news. Now, first up is an area which I absolutely love, which is Sonic the Hedgehog. And Netflix have announced that in 2022, they are going to release a new Sonic the Hedgehog animated series. Now, it seems like a lot of shows at the minute are becoming animated. You've got Tomb Raider, Kong, and now Sonic. Do you guys think this is all down to the pandemic and people are scared to do live action? Or do you just think it's just coincidence? Alice, what do you think? Sonic the Hedgehog, another animated series?
I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog's always been animated, apart from that,
the film we never talk about. Yeah.
So I don't really think that's anything to do with the pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of series like Lower Decks, except for and the ones you mentioned that they've gone animated. But I think it's not necessarily to do with the pandemic because there's a lot more you can do in an animated series that you can't do in a live action one. There's a lot more ridiculousness that you can do that you can't physically get human bodies to do. So I don't think it's necessarily down to the pandemic. But if it is, then let's go. I've always been one of these people that my partner gets so annoyed because I'm like, I'm not watching that as a cartoon. But I've actually started watching them because for some reason we've all got a little bit more time recently. So I started watching cartoons more, and I'm actually really enjoying it, getting into more ridiculousness because it's a cartoon rather than live action.
What about you, Funkster? Are you starting to notice there's a lot more animated shows, or have they always been there and they're just starting to become more popular? What are your thoughts on this increase in animations starting to come to streaming sites?
I mean, I'm definitely not old, so definitely don't remember the first time we had a Sonic the Hedgehog.
Me neither. On early morning Sunday TV.
There is Mario, there is Sonic, so it's not something that's new. So it would just be interesting. Are they riding the wave of the film, which was reasonably popular? It's getting a sequel, all that kind of stuff. Are they going to do it like just a completely bonkers one like they did before, where it's just all sort of set in Sonic Land and he's fighting against Dr. Robotnik and Tails is going to be there and all that kind of stuff? I mean, kids like animated stuff, adults like animated stuff. I mean, it depends if it's going to be cheap or if it's going to be big budget kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in what sort of style they're going to take, because obviously the film went in one direction with the looks of Sonic. It had its original look. That was just terrifying. Then its new look. Are they going to go for a more 3D animated series, or are they going to go back to 2D animation? I'm very interested to see kind of what direction they're going to go with, and if it's going to be a more serious animation style like they did recently, or if they're going to go back to the one we know and love from when it was just kind of complete and utter comedic stylings. What would you like to see from the Sonic series? Do you want it more serious, or do you want it more kind of aimed at children? Alice, what do you think?
Definitely aimed at children. I'd much rather it go back to the original. Obviously, it can't go exactly back to the original because there'd be no point in doing it again if that were the case. But I think they've proven with the film that maybe Sonic can't be made serious. Maybe they have to go a little bit more wacky because at the end of the day, he is a blue hedgehog that can talk. So yeah, let's go back to being silly because that's why we like Sonic. We like Sonic because he's silly, and we like Sonic because of, let's bring Tails out. And we need Tails back. We need Knuckles in there. We need all of his little friends as well. Let's make it silly and let's actually enjoy it rather than trying to be more serious than we are, because that's where they went wrong.
I mean, the best thing about the film though was Jim Carrey. So
yes,
if you don't have Jim Carrey, if you don't have the supporting characters, is it going to be any good? Are kids going to care? Kids like the Trolls World Tour. Do kids care if it's shiny and fast and stuff?
Yeah, if it's shiny, if it's silly, if it's Sonic, if there are bits where they can go, oh look, he just did that run thing and then did a little spinny thing like he does in the game, isn't that cool? Then they'll love it. Let's not try and be too serious. Let's just try and realise that Sonic the Hedgehog is a blue hedgehog that can run fast and talk.
Run really fast and collects rings and stuff.
Yeah.
He's got to go fast.
You don't need to do much more than that.
He has to.
You don't need to do much more than that. That's why Sonic is loved, because he's simple and he's easy and just don't take itself too seriously.
I mean, if you have one of those robots that lives in your house that has a name that begins with A, you can get Sonic activated on that if you use the same joypad code. I can't do it because mine's sitting over there, so I won't do that. But that's something you can try at home.
See, now I want to go buy one of those Amazon devices. We can say it's an Alexa. It's fine. Doesn't worry about that. We're not advertising.
No, it's not that, because if you say it, she'll start talking.
I won't. I won't dare say it.
I would definitely dare say it.
Now, the other thing that has been mentioned for Sonic the Hedgehog as well, and I was shocked that it hasn't happened sooner, but they are going to release a Lego set, finally, of Sonic the Hedgehog. So they've just released Mario ones, and now, because of the fan petition and vote, they are going to release Sonic the Hedgehog Lego as well. And it looks pretty cool. You guys can't see it, but the people watching the podcast can see it, and if you're listening, you definitely can't see it. But yeah, there's been a Sonic Lego. Now, we don't need to discuss that. I just thought it's worth mentioning because it's Sonic, it's Lego. That means it's awesome. I'm going to be buying it. I probably don't think you guys are going to buy it.
No.
I do remember there was a story a few years ago that actually the best thing you could buy to invest in wasn't gold. It was actually Lego. So if you bought some of the really limited edition Lego sets, within a year they were worth twice as much money. So if you wanted to make money, you didn't invest in gold, you bought Lego sets.
They did some sort of maths that by weight, if you have a kilogram of gold and a kilogram of Lego, the Lego is worth more. Something like that. Just because Lego is so ridiculously overpriced.
And if you bought your Lego from GameStop, it's worth twice as much, so it's all good. So yeah. So that GameStop Lego is worth a lot more. Unless you've got your Dogecoin now, which seems to be the one Elon Musk is promoting. But that's something totally different, and you can see that in my stocks podcast coming out soon. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be boring.
The least trustworthy stocks podcast ever.
Yeah.
But let's move on. Another thing that I thought was really interesting this week was some news about The Matrix 4. Now, I was a big fan of the original film. It supposedly had 2 sequels as well, but the first film was brilliant. It just blew cinema apart, and they are now somehow coming back for a 4th film, even though the 3rd one kind of wrapped everything up, and then the game as well, then the game online. So The Matrix seems to have a big following, and it has an amazing idea behind it, but they've now decided that The Matrix 4 was going to be called Matrix, but now rumours are suggesting that it's called Matrix Resurrections. Funkster, were you a fan of The Matrix? What do you think is going to be happening in number 4?
I mean, we should probably point out that there might be spoilers here for Matrix and Revolutions and Reloaded. So not really sure how you can do a Matrix 4, given that nearly everybody dies at the end of Revolutions. So, I mean, Matrix itself was amazing. Absolutely redefined cinema. Just an utterly stunning film. The hallway sequence is still just one of my favourite bits of action cinema ever.
Incredible.
Reloaded has its moments. like the freeway sequence and the stuff in the chateau, and then just Revolutions just wasn't very good at all. So I don't really need another Matrix film. I feel it's just trying to, I don't know, bring something back that doesn't necessarily need to be brought back. Is it going to be any good? Unlikely. Lawrence Fishburne's not going to be in it. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I don't need it.
What about you, Alice? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I've got to kind of agree. I am notorious in my circle of friends for being a lover of really, really bad films. I really enjoyed Matrix 1. I really enjoyed Matrix 2. I even enjoy Matrix 3 on occasion. Not necessarily very often. And when I watch 1, 2, and 3, 3 is usually a background film whilst I'm doing something else. But we all love Keanu Reeves. So, I mean, this is the year of Keanu Reeves, or whatever next year is the year of Keanu Reeves.
It's been the decade of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, he's Cyberpunk, we've got Matrix, we've got Wayne's World, we've got, what's the other one that he's doing? It's
John Wick 4.
John Wick 4. It's just...
SpongeBob.
Yeah, sure.
Can you have too much Keanu, though?
No. You definitely can't have too much Keanu.
As long as it's not a Lake House 2, I think we'll be fine.
So I actually was watching Matrix last week whilst my partner was playing Cyberpunk, and he was getting really freaked out because he was like, his computer is next to our TV, so he's there playing Cyberpunk with Keanu Reeves, and then he's like, it's Keanu, it's too much.
Did he turn brown and go, whoa?
Yeah, he was very confused. But yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of resurrecting. I mean, Resurrection could very well not be the title of the film. It could just be a working title or something people have been nicknaming it, because you can't really do a Matrix 4 without some resurrection. Because, well, Neo did or didn't die at the end of the last one, and everyone else is dead, so...
Well, the current theory is that the Matrix actually downloaded Neo and Trinity, and what we actually see in the film is their backups as software within the Matrix. Which sounds like a very kind of long-winded way to bring them back. Maybe the film should be called Backup and Retrieval.
I mean, that sounds like 20 minutes of going, oh, that's cool. Now what?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, I absolutely loved the martial arts in the first Matrix film. I'm a big martial arts fan, and like Yen Wu-ping brought like amazing wire work and wire fu to Hollywood, and then everybody was doing it, and that was great. But then when you even get onto like the third movie, Revolutions, like the fight stuff, it's just not as good. And it's just like, what is it going to bring? What's going to be special about this movie? Like the first Matrix film was absolutely stunning. We had bullet time, we had like the wire fu, we had like amazing slow-mo sequences. It was great. Second one, yeah, brought some other stuff, but what's going to be new about it? Why am I going to want to go and see it, having a bad taste in my mouth after the end of Revolutions?
Do you think we could possibly see a teaser? Because I know some filming has went ahead already. They were partway through production before it was shut down. And being Super Bowl Sunday, this could be where we actually get like a 15, 30-second teaser of The Matrix. What would it have to have for you to actually want to go see this film, Alice? What is going to make you want to go see this new Matrix film?
I really don't know how to answer that question. I don't know.
More Keanu.
I mean, I'm going to go see it. Let's be honest, all three of us are going to go see it because it's Matrix and because it's Keanu Reeves. I think the question isn't what's going to make you go see it. The question is what's going to make you feel happy going to see it, rather than going to see it because it's the Matrix and because it's Keanu Reeves and because you've watched all the other three. And I honestly can't answer that question. I think that in itself kind of answers the question. The fact that I can't tell you what they need to do to make me excited about this film. I don't know. I don't think there is anything they can do to make me excited about this film because, as Funkster said, the third one left such a bitter taste in our mouths. It was such a... Well, the first one was amazing. The second one was all right. And then what have you done with the third one? And now it's just stop. All right, just stop. But they haven't stopped. So.
What about you, Funkster?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just... I mean, if you go through massive franchise films, name a fourth one that's really good. Especially after the third one has been so bad. I mean, it's the law of diminishing returns. I mean, there are like rare exceptions. Like you could go like Fast and Furious 5 is arguably the best one, but that's because it's got the Rock
7.
in it. And it's got the Rock in it. And it's just sort of like, I mean, all right, Star Trek 4, Voyage Home, yeah, okay. But what is it going to... It needs to have some unique selling point. It's going to be crowded in a market next year, hopefully when we're all back in cinemas. Like, it's going to be such a crowded market. What is going to make people want to go? And I don't know what's going to make me want to go and see it. I mean, we're going to talk about trailers later on. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that they're going to be able to show me that's going to make me go, do you know what? That's new. I haven't seen that before. I want to go and see that movie.
Yeah.
See, for me personally, I think the thing that made The Matrix really good was it had an amazing story, which then had action sequences put onto it. Whereas the other two films were action scenes with story slotted in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made the two sequels fail, is they planned out the action sequences, then slotted the story within it, whereas the first Matrix, it was story-driven, and then the action happened as the story progressed. And I'd like to see them go back to that in the fourth film, where they have a strong story, and if there's only 3 action sequences, I'd be happy with that as a fan of The Matrix, because it'd be a Matrix story rather than an action movie with little story elements.
I think they're really going to struggle to do that, though, because the reason the first one is such a good story is because it's telling you the story of the Matrix. It's explaining the Matrix, and that's what makes you think. It's not the actual storyline. If you think about the storyline of the first Matrix, it's literally someone gets the agents want to get to Zion, so they kidnap someone to try and get the codes, and then they rescue him. That's it. That is basically the story of the first Matrix. But the reason we all love it so much is because of the concept of the Matrix itself, and that's what makes you think, and them developing on that. But once you've done that once everyone knows about the concept of the Matrix, it's really tough to top that, or even to equal that with the second and third one. So they're going to have to do something properly special with the fourth one to bring
it turns out that it's not the Matrix, it's actually the real world.
And it's the Truman Show.
Yeah.
I mean, what if I told you that Morpheus never says, what if I told you? I mean, every action scene in the Matrix, the first Matrix film, has a purpose.
Yes.
Like every action scene has a purpose. Like the I know Kung Fu, it's him showing that he knows Kung Fu to beat Morpheus. Then you've got the jump sequence. Then you've got the hallway shootout. You've got the helicopter stuff. You've got him fighting, like the bit where Morpheus is hidden in the walls with him fighting. And then you've got the track. Everything has a purpose. And then at the end, he can literally fly into the agents, and it's amazing. They should have just finished it there. And then you get to the second film, and literally, like, 3 agents turn up at a meeting. He does a bit of Kung Fu, and he goes, "Ooh, upgrades." And then that's it. And then the action sequences serve no real purpose other than, look at these amazing action sequences that we've got. Aren't they amazing?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely all in agreement. We want meaningful action, not just, ooh, look at our amazing Kung Fu. And I think that is hopefully the way forward for The Matrix. Let's be honest, it's not going to be an Oscar-worthy film. It's not going to be winning Best Director as a best film. But I think with the pandemic and us not being in cinemas anymore, we're kind of longing for those old blockbuster films, those old action films that made us enjoy going to the cinema when we were younger. And I think a bit of nostalgia like that, going back to the cinema and just having some cheesy action type film with a good storyline, obviously, could make it very successful. I think we're all longing for that. Yeah. And the reason why I said award winning is because that was my little segue.
So good.
To the next bit. It was so smoothly done.
So smooth.
No one even picked up on it, yeah. We had some award nominations this week. The Golden Globes have shortlisted to their final nominations, which we were talking about just before the podcast, saying that a lot of the films are pretty much unheard of because there haven't been that very many films or that many opportunities to see films in 2020. 20. So just to give you a roundup, we have a film called Mank, which has 6 nominations. The Trial of the Chicago 7 has 5. The Father has 4. Nomadland has 4. And Promising Young Women has 4. Now, I'll go to Alice on this first one. How many of those films have you watched?
I haven't even heard of any of those films, CJ. That's how interesting the Golden Globes are going to be this year. Yes. It's an odd year. We haven't been to the cinema. We haven't been outside of our houses, to be quite honest with you. In any year, there's always a few Golden Globe films that when people watch the Golden Globes, they go, what? I didn't even heard about that film. This year, I think it's going to be all, if not the majority, if not all of them. Everyone's going to be like, I haven't got a clue. But well done. That's great. Good on you. It's going to be strange. So I think that the hosts, which is Anna Friel and Amy Fowler, I never know how to pronounce her name.
Amy Fowler.
That's the one. They're going to have a job to keep it entertaining, I think, this year, which, they're very talented actresses and comedians. So I don't think they're going to struggle with that, but I think they're going to have a job keeping it entertaining because no one's going to have a clue what's going on.
Now, there is a lot of well-heard of actors and actresses that are in the run-ins. You've got your Amanda Seyfried, you've got Jodie Foster, Olivia Colman, Glenn Close, Rosamund Pike, Anna Taylor-Joy, Kate Hudson, Anthony Hopkins is in there, Baron Cohen is in there. These are big, famous actors and actresses, but they've been in films that we necessarily haven't really heard of. What about you, Funkster? Has there been anything Golden Globes-wise which has made you go, oh yeah, I've seen that film, I know about that?
I mean, it's really dominated this year by the streaming services, isn't it? Stuff off of Netflix. So, like Trial of the Chicago 7, that's a Netflix film. Borat's up there, that's an Amazon film. But
I believe Netflix has 20 out of the 50-odd film nominations, so they've nearly got half of the nominations. Wow. I know it's about 20. Actually, I have it noted down. 22 of the 70 film nominations is from Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, they're just churning stuff out. And the thing with Netflix is they churn something new out every single week. So some of those things are going to be good, and a lot of those things are going to be very sort of meh. But I mean, that's why we keep paying our money, their subscriptions. I mean, they're losing a lot of their content with everybody else having their own subscription services. So they've got to really be producing stuff. And I mean, they're throwing lots of money at it. They're giving directors creative control. So like last year we had stuff like The Irishman, and that's kind of great. And then obviously Amazon brought out sort of Borat, which just literally just came out of nowhere. You were thinking, surely he can't get away with that kind of stuff. So it can sort of breed a lot of creativity out of like the more traditional studio system, which could be a good thing. I suppose that these films might not have got the same attention in a normal kind of Oscar year or Golden Globes year because those films aren't being made or released in the same kind of way that you might get in a normal year. So it could be good.
And believe it or not, Borat actually did really well. I don't know if you have seen the film, but it got Sacha Baron Cohen a best performance of an actor in a comedy, and my personal one who I'd actually like to see get it, but I don't think she will, Maria Bakalova, I hope I'm saying her name right, also got a nomination for her role in Borat, which I think was as her first ever kind of major performance. I think she was absolutely brilliant in Borat, and I think if I had to choose, I think she should win an award, but chances are it's probably not going to go to her. That's probably one of the only films I've seen in that huge long list of who could win.
It's one of the few I've heard of.
Go on. Sorry?
No, that was it. It's just one of the few I've heard of. I've not seen any of them.
That one.
Yep.
However, TV, there is a lot more shows that we will have heard of for TV. And again, 20 out of the 54 nominations were Netflix shows. So nearly half of the nominations were Netflix-based shows. But we had 6 nominations for The Crown, 5 for Schitt's Creek, 4 for Ozark, 4 for The Undoing, 3 for The Great, and 3 for Ratched. What has been your kind of TV watching in the pandemic? Do you think you've been watching some award-winning TV, or has it been the general nostalgic TV watching the old stuff? Funkster, we'll go with you for this one first.
I mean, Netflix. That's how Netflix are going to keep people coming back, isn't it? If you don't go to Netflix to watch the Netflix film. You go to Netflix to watch something like The Crown, or you go to watch The Queen's Gambit, which I think was the most successful Netflix show they've ever had. And it's really good. I mean, it's about chess. So, I mean, if you'd have said 18 months ago, do you know what? The most successful show on Netflix is going to be a limited series about someone who plays chess. No one would believe you. So, people's viewing habits are kind of changing. People are just wanting some content. I mean, Ozark, I mean, I got into that really late. I mean, I've absolutely loved that. It's on a sort of a bit of a sliding scale. I always go, you've got like Breaking Bad at one end of the scale being super serious, and then you've got like Sons of Anarchy at the other end that's trying to be serious, it's a bit stupid. And then I think that Ozark kind of sits in the middle. It is trying to be really serious and has some great moments in it. Like the second to last episode is an absolute gut punch of an episode, and it's great. But it is about, you know, it is a Breaking Bad's kind of spin-off. So, I mean, there is some really good stuff out there.
Now, obviously, we have Ozark's Jason Bateman as performance for leading actor, but he's actually against the guy from the spin-off of Breaking Bad, Bob Odenkirk. I think I've seen his name right. I think it's Odenkirk, I think it is. Yeah. So you've got your Al Pacinos in there as well. There's a lot of comedies that seem to have done very well, which like Schitt's Creek, which I'm always kind of tedious to say online, but that's the name of the TV show, so it's as well. But Anna Taylor-Joy also got a movie nomination, but she also has a TV nomination for The Queen's Gambit, which I think is well deserved from what I've seen of the show as well. And it's amazing how this actress, who was pretty much unheard of, is now getting nominations for TV and film all within the same year. So it's exciting to see how TV has changed. Do you think Netflix are going to lose some of their hold with other TV streaming services coming up? Alice, do you think Disney Plus may have some? Because actually, saying that, The Mandalorian has got a one for Best Drama Series.
I think there's definitely going to be an effect. I mean, Netflix was kind of the original streaming service, and then you've got Amazon Prime, and then you've got Now TV, and you've got even Channel 4 has brought out their own streaming service now. And then you've, as you say, you've got Disney. So there's so many options now that, of course, there's going to be less people buying their own Netflix and more people sharing their friends' Netflix, which obviously we don't condone. But that's kind of the way of the world. So well done. You were the first people to crack it, but you've got to keep ahead of the curve. And as much as all of the originals are fantastic, there is sometimes that aspect that you want to watch your nostalgic TV. You want to watch that TV that's basically like coming home to a nice warm bath because you know that's going to happen and you know you're going to enjoy it. And a lot of that original content has been taken off Netflix now because of the other streaming services. So all the Disney stuff is now on Disney Plus. You've got massive like HBO Max things like The West Wing that was on Netflix and was a massive pull for people on Netflix, but that's now on Channel 4 because that's where it was originally aired in the UK. You've got things that are just being taken off Netflix and going to their own individual streaming services, and that's going to hugely affect Netflix's numbers.
And obviously, us being British, there's been a lot of British actors and actresses that have been kind of going to the forefront. One of my favourites has been nominated for Best Actress, and that's Jodie Comer from Killing Eve, which is a brilliant show. And fingers crossed for her. I hope she gets it. Is there anyone that you feel deserves an award, Funkster, that from the shows you've watched? Is Ozark up there on the top of your list for winning an award?
I mean, Jason Bateman does an amazing job because I think he writes or directs some of it as well. I think he's like a producer. So, I mean, if you think about where he kind of came from, sort of crappy American sitcoms, and then obviously he's in Arrested Development, he's great in that, and then he's in Game Night, which is also great in. I mean, he just does an amazing job in Ozark. I mean, it really is good. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy in Queen's Gambit just plays it so well. I mean, it's always tricky with awards because you're just sort of saying, oh, this person is better than this person. And it's sort of when, I don't know. I think Queen's Gambit, I like that. Ozark, that's good. But yeah, maybe just give some newcomers some stuff rather than just always go into sort of Olivia Colman's and people like that. They're always going to be great.
Yeah, and obviously the late Chadwick Boseman as well got a nomination for a Golden Globe, but unfortunately died of cancer before he could even find out about his nomination, which what I've heard, I haven't seen what he was in, but it's a shame because it kind of reminds you of the likes of the Heath Ledgers and stuff that do amazing performances, but then just miss out on getting some well-deserved recognition as well. Do you think Chadwick may get an award post-death?
Like you, I've not seen the film that he's been nominated for, so I wouldn't like to say. But whatever happens, it's going to be one of those discussions that someone somewhere in the depths of the internet is going to say, oh, he's only nominated because he's dead, which is always really like, even if that's the truth, don't say it. Like, that's disrespectful. So we all know he's a fantastic actor, like, not just from Black Panther fame. Like, 21 Bridges is amazing. If you've not seen it, you have to watch it. He's incredible in it. He is definitely of the level of Golden Globes nomination. So there's no reason why he shouldn't be nominated. I think it's just people need to separate what's happened in the last year from the nominations and from why someone might win, and make sure that it's for the right reasons.
And talking obviously about saying you've mentioned Black Panther, it has just been announced this week that Disney Plus is going to release a Wakanda TV series, and it's going to be led by the Black Panther director, Ryan Coogler. Funkster, what do you think about this? Wakanda getting its own TV series? What would you like to see covered? Obviously, it's not going to be about Black Panther. It is going to be about the world of Wakanda. What would you like to see in a Wakandan TV series?
I mean, it's always going to be tricky moving forward, isn't it? Because we just associate Wakanda and Black Panther. I mean, T'Challa is Chadwick Boseman. I mean, that you just cannot separate him from that character. And I know that they've said that they're not going to recast him. They're not going to do anything about that, which is great. And they're moving forward with Black Panther 2. I mean, with the television series, I mean, what could they do? I mean, is it exploring how, is it going to be like a prequel? Are they going to sort of talk about the stuff that we sort of saw in the opening of Black Panther, where they talk about getting the vibranium? Is it going to be about his father, all these kind of things? Is it going to be moving forward with people like Shuri and all this kind of stuff? I mean, you would kind of say, again, is it really worth it? But the best thing on television at the minute is literally a sitcom with 2 Avengers in it. So in Disney we trust. I mean, The Mandalorian is amazing. I mean, WandaVision, which we can talk about, is amazing. We've got Falcon Winter Soldier coming up. Loki looks amazing. Ryan Coogler is an amazing director. He knows what he's doing. Creed is amazing. I mean, it's surely going to be good. I mean, in Marvel we trust, surely. Feige we trust.
I think it'd be quite interesting to see them cover the whole, they've opened up to the world and seeing how that development goes forward. It's them sharing their technology, the world trying to accept what was seen as a third world country, all of a sudden actually being the most developed country on the planet. What about you, Alice? What do you think could work as a Wakanda TV series?
I might be in the minority. I kind of really want to see day-to-day life in Wakanda. I don't want it to be known characters. I don't want it to be anyone we've seen before. I just want to see day-to-day life, how people are living in Wakanda before they started going out into the world, for a few episodes at least, and then how it then the transition, like you just said, into Wakanda being into the world, and seeing how that happens and how it changes the Wakandan life as well as how it's changing the world's life. But I think whenever I watch films, I'm always like, well, that looks really small. Where do people actually live? Like, all these people, like, when you see Wakanda, you see the castle and you see all that, and you see the armies appearing, but where do they actually live? What do their families do? What do their wives do? What do their husbands do? What are their kids doing right now whilst they're fighting? That's what I want to know. I want to know all that little, like, real life stuff. And
I just can't see that happening on a
I can't see
Disney
it happening at all.
Marvel show.
No,
I don't think they're
not.
going to have a day-to-day, I don't know, like a New Girl type
fly on the wall
sitcom,
type
a Big Bang, where they live in 2 apartments and they return back from work. I just can't see it working, because people want the superheroes, they want the action. Now, this leads into WandaVision, kind of, which is like a sitcom, but that was only for a few episodes, and then we start getting a bit more action. And I don't think a Wakanda series without the kind of superheroes would work. And because WandaVision has kind of done that now, I think that's going to stop other shows from doing a similar format, because it works for WandaVision, which we're going to lead into now, because it's to do with magic, and no one is as powerful as I forgot her name all of a sudden, Scarlet Witch, but I'm trying to say her real name because she's not called Scarlet Witch in the TV show.
I mean, her name's literally the name of the show.
It's literally Wanda.
Yeah. No, I was trying to remember her surname. Wanda Maximoff. That's it. So...
going back to Wakanda, I mean, when's it going to be set? Is it going to be pre-snap? Is it going to be is it going to be post-blip? Is it going to be in between the snap and the blip?
Why not all three?
Well, you mean you could? I mean, all we've had so far in between the snap and the blip is that bit where it just goes 5 years later. So we don't know. We've not seen anything yet, as far as my MCU knowledge is pretty good. We've not really seen anything that's been set in between the snap and the blip. So, I mean, it could be there. I mean, there's that whole bit
we haven't.
when Black Widow's talking to everyone at Avengers HQ and stuff like that. So stuff has happened. So could it be set during that period? I mean, who knows?
And Wakanda may be supporting the world with their technology in this new post-blip world. So yeah, that could be a really good way of moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Wakanda TV series. And obviously, the more we find out, we'll talk about on the podcast. But I know this is something that I know Funkster's desperate to talk about. And I think a lot of people are talking about it as well, which is amazing. It's been a long time since a TV show has had such an impact on social media. And a lot of people are complaining. I've seen a lot of articles on this that it's too slow. But I think people forget that TV shows used to be weekly, even though it's on a streaming service. I think don't get me wrong, it's frustrating. I want to know what happens next, but having that frustration and having that waiting time and that discussion time about the show, personally, I think it's making it more enjoyable, and that's what made me enjoy The Mandalorian as well.
Yep.
But Funkster, what did you enjoy about the latest episode? What bits stood out for you?
Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we should point out, I mean, there are now going to be massive spoilers. We're going to have Endgame spoilers, Age of Ultron spoilers, MCU moving forward spoilers, WandaVision's...
To be fair, it's the SpoilerTV Spodcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely adored WandaVision from the get-go. The people that complain that it's too slow, as you pointed out, like television used to have what was known as these water cooler moments. So you would get, the show would drop in the evening, and then the water cooler moment was the bit that everybody talked about the next day at work. So if a show was on at 8 o'clock at night, this was like pre-social media and stuff like that. Now, obviously, when shows drop everything at once, that's wonderful if you can sit there and watch it all. But this, as you said, like having this gap in between one episode and the next gives you all this time to kind of talk about sort of what's going on. The Mandalorian, it was great having that weekly block, but just like massive spoilers for WandaVision. Like Alice is going to say in a minute that she thought it was predictable. I don't think that any single person, if you'd have said to them, do you know what they're going to do?
I knew they were going to do it. Absolutely knew they were going to do it.
But that they were going to have Evan Peters appear at the end. So you knew that. So everyone else on the planet totally oblivious, but you knew in your head, without looking at spoilers,
I knew. I didn't know it would be
pictures,
Evan Peters. I thought, I will hold my hands up, I thought it would be Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I knew he was coming back.
Character. See, what they're literally doing is, like, if Evan Peters is there as Quicksilver from, and we'll call it the X-Men, the Fox.
Which he clearly already isn't, because he's got his weird accent and he's a used car salesman or something.
But anyway, things change when they go in. But if that is what they're doing, then instead of having this massive reveal of bringing the X-Men in a movie, like having a cliffhanger, like a Portals moment in a movie, if they're doing it in the middle of a television show, I mean, that is brass balls on Disney.
Very much. But, I mean, the predictability that Quicksilver was going to come back, not necessarily in this episode, but at some point blinking soon, is all over everything from the second she got pregnant.
Yeah, but you could say this about any TV show. As soon as they mention they have family, you can
'cause they
predict that
mention it
family
so
will appear
often.
in a TV show. So saying it's predictable because the brother would appear is not really saying it's predictable.
because
Of course,
of-
it's called storyline.
No.
Yeah.
Shush, 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 shush. If you're going to tell me that I'm making this up, that it wasn't predictable, I'm going to tell you how it is predictable. She gets pregnant. They start talking about names. They mention Petro. Then there's the whole conversation outside of the town about the fact that she's managing to create brand new things now rather than just using other people and making them think that they're other people. So then you put those things together, and the fact that they ramped up the mention of her brother so many times. In the previous episode, episode 3, they mentioned him so many times. It was ridiculous. It was like a big old neon sign saying, he's coming back, he's coming back. So you put those two things together, and it's the only way that they could have ended that episode. It's the only thing they could have done. It had to happen.
I had to get on. I start watching it at like 8 o'clock. I was dead on 8 o'clock because just the amount of spoilers and stuff that I knew were going to sort of start coming. But just everything about this show is just so well done. Like the sitcom stuff is so on point. Like the first episode set in the 50s had a live studio audience, absolutely stunning. And it like absolute picture perfect. The second one had the canned laughter. I mean, this one was set in the 80s. Instead of, you had like a cold open. So instead of like the first ones where the theme tune comes in, you had the nice cold open. We had the bit of sort of silliness, and then the credits rolled. And it's a beautiful family ties. If you didn't know where the
Yeah, family ties.
I'm really looking forward to what they do with the 90s next week.
I mean, even the theme tune goes, we're making this up as we go along with the theme tune. I was just had this massive smile on my face. And then just dropping in the little bits that are there, like Agnes, when she drops that thing, do you want to do it again? Do you want to do the line again? Like, she is not in the same way that everybody else is in there. So the guy who's at work, whose name I can't remember, that Vision sort of wakes up and he says he's in pain.
Is that Norm? No, it's not Norm.
No, yeah.
That's her husband.
Like, Agnes is not the kind of same, and there are sort of rumours about who she might be, but she is not in the same sort of vein of being controlled and stuff like that. But then when Wanda comes outside with the drone and the accent is back because she doesn't want to fit in anymore, and she just has that big dick energy as she comes out and just flips those like the laser sights onto the guy. I mean, I was just in nerd heaven at that moment. It was just so well done.
I personally don't think that was Wanda. I don't know why, but I feel like, yes, she saw the drone, but even Wanda said she doesn't know how this is all happening. She's kind of just going with it, in a sense. She's taking advantage of it. But for me personally, I don't think that was Wanda that went out of the bubble. I think she might be trapped in the bubble as well, or she physically wants to stay in it. But I don't think she left. I could be totally wrong, totally going way out there.
I think you're wrong.
I think that whoever the big bad is taken over people's forms. And Pietro that we are seeing, I think the person taking the form is getting himself or herself mixed up on the baddie, because there's a lot of rumours that the baddie is someone that works in different dimensions. And I think this character has got the dimensions mixed up, on which Pietro is her brother and is taking the forms of different people. And it wasn't Scarlet Witch that left the bubble. That's my personal theory. I could be totally wrong, but I think that's a totally different Scarlet Witch to the one that we are seeing inside the bubble. There you go. There's my theory.
I think that's an interesting theory, but I also think that you're totally wrong. I have my own theory that's nothing to do with that, but it's not really a theory. I want to know what the hell's going on with Captain Marvel. Because Rambo is her best friend from the original film. And there was a mention in the last episode, in episode 4, about Captain Marvel and the look you get from Rambo and the whole, we don't talk about that. What is going on there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was really interesting, wasn't it? Because obviously you had the moniker or whatever. is obviously a massive fan of Wanda, but as soon as they mentioned Captain Marvel, she wasn't
Yeah,
happy.
she was not. Something switched, and I want to know what the hell's going on with that.
Well,
And I
think
feel
about
like
it this way. Our mum died. Where was Captain Marvel over those 5 years?
yeah,
Which
but
I
there's
think
gotta be
kind of
something
comes
more
into
than
it.
that. I think there's got to be something more.
And also, since we're talking about her, Monica, there was a big hint at her comic links. I don't know if you know this, Alice, or not, but in the comics, she's a character. I think she's had lots of names, but I think the latest one that they're kind of going with is Photon, who absorbs different energies, and she has that ability because of dimensional kind of rays and powers that affect her. I'm probably not explaining this right, but I know it's due to dimensional powers that make her into Photon. We've seen that there's people from different dimensions in this bubble around Westview. Maybe it's not a bubble. Maybe it is a dimensional hex where it's pulling from different dimensions, different time frames. And as she's been forced through that barrier, she's absorbed some of those dimensional powers, which then creates her into photons. I don't know.
Right, I'm gonna do my 60. You're gonna give me 60 seconds, and then I'm gonna stop because I could just talk about this for an hour. So you've got the aerospace engineer mentioned. So that could be a way of bringing in
Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got obviously the whole thing about the dog dying. Sorry, spoiler. The dog dies. They can't bring people back. That doesn't mean that she hasn't tried to bring someone back. We know that Scarlet Witch, and I love the little bit where the Agent Wu's giving his briefing, and the guy says, like, no snappy nickname, and you're just waiting for him. He said, no, nothing there. But what if she's just tried to grab Pietro, and she's grabbed the snap and the blip, have weakened the barriers, because we know title of Doctor Strange 2 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We know that Scarlet Witch is in that. Is she going to be an antagonist? Is she going to be a protagonist? There's all the rumours about Spidey 3, whatever that's going to be called, and multiple characters. We know that Electro's back. We know that Doc Ock is back. We know that the multiverse is opening. What if she's gone mad, she's tried to grab him, and she's grabbed a different Pietro? We know that Deadpool's coming over. We know that the X-Men have cameoed in Deadpool 2. But I just can't wait till Friday, 8 o'clock. Can't wait. I just can't wait.
Now, I know the next episode, and I think this is not too big a spoiler because it's in the promos, in all the promos.
No.
I will say this. It's a Halloween-based episode. That's not spoilers. I'm just going to say Halloween. And if you've seen the trailers, you know what... we know what's been worn, and I think that is when we might get the official nickname. That's all I'll say. I don't think that's too spoilery. I'll just say it's a Halloween episode, and it's starting to get really exciting on how WandaVision is going to move forwards. There's still a lot to dissect from it as well, and I think what I may have to do is, once WandaVision finishes, is just have a big WandaVision podcast and maybe get people in the previous podcast just to record little theories that they've done, because I don't think I can have a podcast with about 10 people wanting to talk about it.
Just argue.
But I think WandaVision is bringing back again an old style of TV that people enjoyed and loved. It's got the sitcoms, it's referring back to the 80s and 90s. But for me personally, I think the thing that's, as my daughter's being attacked by the dog, a thing that brings it back is this whole theories, discussion, waiting for the water cooler moments. Like, as soon as like, you have to avoid social media, and people are saying, oh, well, you shouldn't talk about it within hours. I'm sorry, but we live in a world where we have to discuss it. It comes out early in some places, comes out late in some places. People are excited about it. You have to protect yourself. I was spoiled months ago about Evan Peters appearing in it because of set pictures. That's just one of those things I saw. I didn't mean to. Am I angry about that? No. Because that's what happens when you go online. Things will be spoiled. If you want to be protected, it's not possible anymore. And
become a Mormon.
And yeah, you have to. But for me personally, spoilers don't affect things for me. It's about the journey. And knowing that Evan Peters was going to appear didn't take away from the fact of how he appeared, who he is, what the character is, and the story. And I think that is the key thing. There's a story that is going through that is making WandaVision exciting. For example, Alice, what is it that you're enjoying most about WandaVision?
I mean, there's still one cameo to go, isn't there? So Elizabeth Olsen has said that there is and this is a spoiler for the last episode of The Mandalorian, that there is a Jedi-like cameo at the end of WandaVision, isn't there? So there's lots of rumours.
I don't think she said at the end. I think she just said there's a big cameo coming up, and no one knows if she's talking about Evan Peters or if she's talking about. She hasn't specified when. So
She says it's someone she's not worked with before, isn't it? So that's I mean,
Well, that'll be Evan Peters then.
is it though? Do you think they would drop that in the middle?
I think she's tried because of who we are and because we know things are going to happen like this. To us, it doesn't seem like a big impact. But if you look at it on a whole and just think this is the first time ever Fox property X-Men and Marvel MCU have joined. And to that, if you look at it that way, that is a huge deal. Now, whether it is Quicksilver from Fox and X-Men, we don't know.
Well, actually, weirdly, if you turn on the audio description, it actually says Quicksilver from the X-Men movies on the audio description.
Because the other thing I wanted to mention is this. There's time being affected in this, not just dimensions, but time. Because if you think Quicksilver in X-Men Dark Phoenix, and I watched this last night, is probably in his late 20s, 30s, and that's in 1990 when it's set. Okay, I think he's about 25. So that is 30 years ago, so he should technically be nearly 60. Now, I don't know if they're saying he doesn't age the same because of how fast his metabolism is. He doesn't age the same speed, but he should technically be in his 50 going on 60s.
Well, you have to kind of ignore the first class timeline thing, isn't it? Because first class is the 60s, Days of Future Past is the 70s, Apocalypse is 80s, and then Dark Phoenix is 90s. So that's 40 years. So you have to kind of, and they all pretty much look the same. So you have to kind of ignore.
Magneto is 60 in Dark Phoenix as Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
But
I think we've learned from the X-Men films that we
that
don't think about time because they just retcon themselves when they go, "Oh, that was a bad film." Let's pretend
Just remember, in 10 years' time, from Dark Phoenix to the original X-Men, Michael Fassbender changes
from Michael Fassbender to Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
It must have been a rough 10 years.
Days of Future Past. So the framing device in Days of Future Past, that is apparently set in 2023. Now, the snap happens in 2018, the blip then 5 years later. So technically, the world that they are living in is 2023. So the timelines sort of weirdly match up a little bit.
But with dimensions, you can have time and dimensional things. So I think he's been ripped out of time and in the dimensions. But obviously, we don't know much other than him appearing, and there'll be more to talk about next week because we are actually out of time for this episode. I know we could have talked about WandaVision in a lot more detail, but unfortunately we can't. But it'll be very interesting to see how the episodes move forward. Obviously, those listening or watching, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to hear all of your theories and to see if we're right. Next week, it might just totally change again. We honestly don't know. But I just want to say, go on.
If CJ's theory is right, I will literally eat this mask that I am wearing. Like, if CJ's theory comes to fruition, I will eat this mask that I am wearing.
I will watch.
And we will do it live on SpoilerTV's YouTube. But no, thank you very much, Alice Funkster. Alice, if people want to chat to you more about WandaVision and the things we've spoke about, where can we find you on social media?
I am at AliceD_UK on Twitter, and that's about it, really.
Yep. And Funkster, if people want to find you and your cosplaying habits as well, because you like to dress up as certain Marvel characters, where can we find you as well?
I'm literally just Funkster cosplay everywhere. So if you really want to come and follow me, it's not very exciting, but if you want to, feel free to. Funkster cosplay, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, everything, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't see them on Westview television. But thank you very much, everyone, for listening or watching. Greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and follow if you want to see future episodes. Obviously, if you want more news and spoilers, SpoilerTV.com has loads of news, promos, and everything like that. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can get all of the latest promos and movie trailers here. I was CJ. This was the Spodcast, and thank you very much, and we will see you all soon.